Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
Did you know that heart disease, well, it affects women really differently than men? It's often seen as a man's issue, but actually, the ways it impacts women are distinct and honestly often misunderstood.
That's absolutely right.
And for far too long. Medical research, clinical trials, but they've mostly focused on male subjects, which has left this huge blind spot, a real gap in how we understand and, maybe more importantly, how we treat things like high blood pressure in women.
It's a fundamental gap, definitely. We're only really starting to get a handle on it now.
So today, you're joining us for a deep dive into some really fascinating new preclinical research that's coming out of Monash University.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
And it seems they found this crucial biological link.
Yeah.
Something between the female sex hormone, estrogen, and a natural protein that seems to protect women's hearts, especially when dealing with high blood pressure. So, our mission here today is simple. We want to unpack the biggest findings from this new health news and also dig into the scientific paper behind it. Give you a clear shortcut to understanding what's going on, some surprising facts, and what it all means for, the future of heart health.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this research gap first. It's kind of fundamental. For decades, like we said, research, trials, mostly men.
Historically, yes.
And maybe it wasn't like malicious intent, but maybe it was seen as simpler. Male hormones versus female biological complexities, or maybe just cost.
There were various factors cited, yes, but the outcome was the same.
Right. The unintended consequence is this huge gap in understanding how conditions like high blood pressure, even the drugs we use, affect men and women differently. It's been, well, frankly, a persistent problem in medicine.
And what's really fascinating, or perhaps worrying, is how much we thought we knew versus what we're now uncovering. These distinct mechanisms driving high blood pressure and its complications, specifically in females. There's so much still to learn.
It's not just academic, is it?
No, absolutely not. This is about life and death. We're seeing evidence now suggesting that the risk of cardiovascular complications might actually start at a lower blood pressure level in females compared to males.
Wow. So the standard thresholds might not fit everyone.
Exactly. Think about that. The numbers we've relied on for decades might not be universally applicable. It directly challenges these long-held assumptions about what's dangerous.
That's huge.
It is. And this historical oversight, unfortunately, has meant women have often been underrepresented in research, sometimes underdiagnosed, and definitely underserved in cardiovascular care.
Just that point alone, that lower blood pressure might be riskier for women, that changes things significantly. So this new Monash study, how does it start to, fill that gap? What's the core discovery?
Okay, so the heart of this new research really revolves around a natural protein called Annexin A1.
Annexin A1, okay.
You can sort of picture it as like a built-in bodyguard for your blood vessels and heart. It's really crucial for keeping blood pressure healthy and protecting against damage.
A guardian protein, I like that.
Yeah, and what's really new here, the breakthrough, is that they've found a direct biological connection between this guardian protein, Annexin A1, and the main female sex hormone, estrogen.
Okay.
We knew Annexin A1 was important for blood pressure generally, but this specific link to estrogen, especially in the context of sex differences in heart health, that's the novel part.
So if Annexin A1 is the guardian, what's estrogen doing? How does it interact, and why is it, different or maybe more important for females?
Right, that's the key question, isn't it? Why this protein, and why does its absence seem to hit females harder? Well, the study found that estrogen actually boosts the levels of this Annexin A1 protein.
It increases it.
Yes, essentially beefing up this natural protective shield, specifically in the female mice they studied. And here's the kicker. When that Annexin A1 is missing, or if there's not enough of it, high blood pressure causes much more severe damage to the heart, to the main blood vessels, and this damage is particularly bad, really pronounced in females.
Wow, so the lack of it is worse for females.
Well, the researchers linked this increased vulnerability directly to problems with mitochondrial function.
Mitochondria,
Yeah.
Those are the powerhouses in our cells,
Yeah.
right? Energy produced.
Exactly. The body's tiny energy factories. Without enough Annexin A1, these cellular engines seem to struggle, especially under the stress of high blood pressure.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So to figure this out, they used mice in a preclinical study, Can you walk us through the setup? How did they actually do the experiment?
Sure. So to really get into these mechanisms, they set up a pretty careful study. They used several groups of mice.
Right.
They had standard healthy mice, male and female. These are called wild-type mice, basically the control group.
Okay.
Then they had mice, both male and female, that were genetically engineered to be deficient in Annexin A1. So these mice lacked that key protective protein.
Got it. No guardian protein.
Precisely. Then, to mimic high blood pressure, they infused these mice with a substance called angiotensin II.
Angiotensin II. Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a standard way in research to induce a hypertensive state. It lets them watch carefully how each group's cardiovascular system, their heart and blood vessels, responds under that specific stress.
Right. So what happened? What did they actually see when they compared the groups, especially those Annexin A1 deficient mice, the females in particular?
Well, the results were pretty striking. It painted a very clear picture. The lack of Annexin A1 definitely made the cardiovascular damage worse in both sexes when they had high blood pressure.
Okay, so worse for everyone without it.
Yes, but, and this is the crucial part, the effect was significantly more pronounced, you could even say more devastating, in the females.
Really? How so?
Well, take blood pressure itself, the most direct measure, right?
Mm-hmm.
In those mice missing Annexin A1, their blood pressure was consistently higher than the normal wild-type mice. That applied to both males and females.
Okay.
But the female mice missing Annexin A1 showed an even bigger jump in blood pressure compared to the males missing it.
So a double whammy for the females lacking the protein.
Exactly. It points to a clear, sex-specific vulnerability. Without Annexin A1, females seem disproportionately affected by that rise in blood pressure.
And it wasn't just the pressure numbers, right? You mentioned damage. Did they see physical changes in the blood vessel?
Oh, absolutely. They looked closely at what's called vascular remodeling, basically, structural changes in the blood vessels.
Like how flexible they are.
Precisely. Think of healthy arteries like flexible hoses. Well, in the mice lacking Annexin A1, their carotid arteries became less distensible. They got stiffer.
Less stretchy.
Less stretchy, exactly, like an old garden hose that's lost its spring. They also saw more calcium building up in the aorta that's hardening of the arteries.
Okay, that sounds bad.
It is. And again, critically, these negative effects, the stiffening, the hardening, were worse or more elevated in the females compared to the males. It just kept reinforcing this idea of heightened female susceptibility without Annexin A1.
That sounds like a huge amount of stress on their system. Did they look even deeper, like at the cellular level, to see why this is happening?
Yes, they did. And that brings us back to the mitochondria, the cell's power plant.
Right, the energy producers.
So, the study looked at how efficiently the heart muscle cells were using oxygen. In the Annexin A1 deficient mice with high blood pressure, their heart mitochondria were consuming oxygen at higher rates.
Higher rates, meaning they were working harder.
Essentially, yes. It indicates reduced efficiency. The heart muscle is working overtime, burning more fuel just to produce the same amount of energy. It leads to cellular exhaustion, damage.
Okay.
And here's another really crucial bit. They looked at a specific part of the mitochondrial energy production process, something called complex 2 oxygen consumption rate.
Complex 2.
Think of it as one specific gear in the cell's engine. That specific rate was markedly higher just in the female Annexin A1 deficient mice.
Only the females.
Markedly higher, yes. It suggests that without Annexin A1, the female heart cells are really having to push that specific part of their energy system into overdrive just to keep up. It's like a hidden, deeper stress, making them uniquely vulnerable to hypertension damage at the cellular level.
Wow, that's incredibly specific. So the cells themselves are struggling differently in females. Now, what about that estrogen link? How did they prove estrogen was actually doing something with Annexin A1?
Good question. They needed to bridge the gap from mice to humans, right?
Right.
So they did experiments using human cells in culture specifically, smooth muscle cells from the human aorta, the main artery.
Okay, human cells now.
Yes. And when they treated these human cells with a common type of estrogen, it's called 17-beta estradiol, it actually stimulated those cells to release more Annexin A1 protein.
So estrogen directly caused more of the guardian protein to be released.
Exactly. And here's what's really fascinating. This happened without changing the gene activity for Annexin A1.
Without changing the gene.
Yeah. It suggests what's called a post-transcriptional effect, meaning estrogen isn't changing the basic instructions, the gene. It's influencing the protein after the instructions have been read, maybe helping produce it faster, or stabilizing it, or pushing it out of the cell where it can do its job.
So it's like estrogen isn't rewriting the recipe, but it's speeding up the production line or ensuring delivery.
That's a great analogy. It shows a direct, powerful regulatory link between estrogen and this protective protein in human cells, something we just didn't know about before.
Okay, so putting this all together,
Mm-hmm.
what does this actually mean for us, for women's heart health going forward? This sounds like it could really change things.
I think it could. You're right. It feels like a potential paradigm shift. This isn't just about finding another possible drug target, although that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's about fundamentally changing how we understand and maybe treat heart disease, especially in women. Imagine if we could assess a woman's risk not just based on standard blood pressure numbers, but maybe also looking at her hormonal status, her Annexin A1 levels.
That sounds like truly personalized medicine.
Exactly. It opens the door to therapies that could maybe preemptively boost this natural protection, help prevent serious outcomes like heart failure, perhaps years down the line. It's about finally developing treatments that are tailored specifically for women, tackling that historical research gap head on.
Yeah, it's a really powerful vision. Moving beyond the one-size-fits-all model, I think Professor David Greening, one of the senior authors, mentioned something along these lines.
Yes, absolutely. Professor Greening pointed out how studying proteins on a large scale, the field called proteomics,
Proteomics, right.
how that's allowing us to really pinpoint why men and women experience conditions like hypertension differently. This study is a perfect example using proteomics to uncover these subtle but critical biological differences.
So it helps us move towards more precise treatments.
Precisely. Treatments that target these specific sex-based mechanisms, these future therapies, they might help prevent serious problems like heart failure by focusing on the unique biology of women's hearts and blood vessels, not just applying a strategy developed primarily on men. It's a real shift towards understanding root causes that differ between the sexes.
This is incredibly promising stuff.
Yeah.
But, and this is important, we need to remember this was a preclinical study. It was done in mice.
Absolutely. Crucial point.
So here's where it gets really interesting for the future.
Mm-hmm.
What are the next steps? How do we get these insights closer to actually helping people?
Right. That's always the key question after exciting basic research. The next steps involve translating these findings carefully. First, researchers really need to confirm if estrogen controls Annexin A1 the same way in humans as it did in the mouse models in the human cell cultures.
How do they do that?
That likely means more human cell studies, maybe looking at tissue samples, and possibly observational studies in people looking for correlations between estrogen levels, Annexin A1 levels, and actual heart health outcomes in women.
Okay, confirm the mechanism in humans. Then what?
Then, if that holds up, the next stage would likely involve testing potential new medicines in further animal studies. Medicines designed to perhaps mimic estrogen's effect on Annexin A1 or directly boost Annexin A1 levels.
See if they can actually protect the heart in animals lacking the protein.
Exactly. See if these compounds can prevent or reduce that hypertension-induced damage in, say, Annexin A1 deficient mice. If those results look good, well then you start down the long road of human clinical trials, focusing first on safety, then on efficacy.
And are they thinking beyond just hypertension?
Yes, the researchers also plan to investigate if this whole estrogen Annexin A1 system plays a role in other heart conditions, particularly ones we know affect men and women differently, so the scope could potentially widen.
Makes sense.
Ultimately, closing this knowledge gap, understanding these sex differences, it's absolutely essential if we want to develop more effective, truly sex-specific ways to treat heart disease and improve outcomes for women. It's about saving lives and improving quality of life.
Well, this deep dive really highlights how much more there is to learn, doesn't it? About the subtle but really profound biological differences between us, especially for something as vital as heart health.
Absolutely.
This newly understood link, this protective connection between estrogen and Annexin A1 for women's cardiovascular systems, it feels powerful. And the promise of more sex-specific medicine is genuinely exciting, potentially revolutionary.
It truly is.
So as you think about all this, maybe reflect on this question. What other areas of health do you think might really benefit from applying a more rigorous sex-specific lens in both research and treatment moving forward?
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.